These are my supporting actors for oil control. If you're new here, hi, my name is Miss Megan, and today I'm going to take you through my festival proof, gym proof, waterproof, sweat proof, humidity proof foundation routine. I'm going to show you just a couple little things I change in my regular routine to make it a little bit more long wearing. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a post. Thank you so much for all of the support I've had on YouTube since I kind of started consistently posting. I love it here. If you want to learn A, how to do foundation, B, how to layer your makeup, and C, get ready for all those summer music festivals, please keep it watching. Things that you have to understand first is what is long wear to you. So for some people, it's entirely matte, never moves, looks exactly the same in the morning, doesn't warm up on your body, and it's indestructible. And I just personally don't believe in makeup being that way. There's definitely things like the Kryolan spray and the One Size spray that can really seal the makeup in. But in my opinion, based on the formulation of those sprays, I don't think they should be used every single day. A Miss Megan long wearing skin is long wear that's glowy because I hate being matte. We know that. For some skin types, you have to master like how to control the oil or how to make sure the texture maintains the same thing. There's so many different ways to get long wear skin, and my way is through layering and still remaining glowy. Long wear for me does not mean matte. The first thing that you have to deal with is making your skin texture normal, which means that it's not overly dry, it's not overly oily, it's just balanced. Balanced skin is the absolute first step of a makeup routine, because once you have balanced skin, then you can start to add in and alter and change whatever you want based on your primers and foundations. Dry skin has more of that like textured flakiness to it. Dehydrated skin can still be oily. Dehydrated skin can still be tight. Oily skin is also dehydrated skin because oily skin lacks water and the body's going, please, I need water so bad. And she won't do it. So I'm just going to overproduce oils so I feel moisturized. So ultimately, hydrated skin is what you need. In the beginning, let's say you ultimately want to be matte, that's fine, but we need to make the skin balanced. We have to make sure that the skin is hydrated with water, not just emollient sitting on the skin. We need to deal with the deeper layers. That's why skin prep needs to take a longer time. And it might not be the reality for everybody, but it's one of the biggest factors. For video purposes, I already did my eyebrows, but normally I would do the Magic Radiance first. So I'm gonna do that now. Fix Plus Magic Radiance, I talked about it in my other Fix Plus video. This has essential oils and vitamin C in it. So this is prepping my skin basically for moisturizer. And you can just let that absorb in on its own. Works extremely great on really dry skin. Normally at this point, I would be doing my eye makeup. These two steps, this is the Keys Soul Care. These two steps I would be doing and then going in with my eye makeup because I need these to absorb into the skin more. This is from Vegas. So this face routine that I'm gonna build for you, which is pretty much my everyday routine, this is what I had in Miami. This is what I've had in Vegas. This is what I've had in really humid New York summers. It's tried and true, and you just have to trust me. Now we're ready to prep for makeup. That's prep for the skin. Now we wanna prep for makeup. I use the Hyperreal Skin Canvas Balm. This is my baby. This is formulated to work with makeup. So oftentimes, when you have active ingredients in a lot of skincare, sometimes they're just too strong for makeup and you can see things break down a little bit more. So this, you're getting the best of both worlds. Now, an oily skin type can still use a cream and still hydrate the skin. You might use something that's more of like a gel texture than a balm or like oil texture like this. Even though the oils in this would be really good for oily skin because oil loves oil. Sometimes people just don't like to feel that texture. So that's something you have to identify is, do I not like it because of the feeling or because I've been told that I've heard certain things that you shouldn't do this for a particular skin type? So yes, an oily skin would love Skin Canvas Balm, but not if you don't like the feel of that on your skin. And that's where you would go for something that's more of a gel or lightweight consistency. At this point, my skin is balanced, and day to day, I don't use primer anymore because of it being balanced, and my foundations are long wearing kind of on their own. So I find it lasts really well. Going into summer, I do incorporate primer for a little bit more oil control, but in this case, Face Protect SPF 50. I picked up some when I was in Vegas because this is no longer available in Canada. Go back to one, I think my original foundation routine videos from a while ago. I used Face Protect. So this is a primer first before it's sunscreen. So you wouldn't really be applying this in the same way you should be applying sunscreen. This has a little bit more of a skin-like texture. The old one I found, and this is like, when I say old, I'm like, this is the one from like 2012. More of like a matte, flat consistency. This one's a little bit more skin-like. So it'll work better across multiple skin tones. So there's no white cast. Obviously haven't put it on anybody in a really long time. So now we're ready. We're locked and loaded. Your makeup is only as good as your skin. Repeat after me. Your makeup is only as good as your skin. So your prep is so important. You could have the most expensive, most beautiful, stunning foundation in the world, but if your skin is not in check, it's not gonna perform for you. I always underpaint my bronzer. I'm gonna use the Milani Spilling Tea. And this was a brush I bought at the Makeup Shack. This is the T31. And put your makeup on. People dust makeup on and then wonder why it disappears. It's because there's not enough there. I like to be really bronzed across the forehead. And this step doesn't have to be perfect because we're very much building a whole face on top of it. And I'm gonna go under the jaw too. Sides of the nose. This is, again, this routine is not far off from my regular routine. The Studio Fix Mattifying and the Studio Fix Pro Set and Blur Loose Powder, they're gonna be the two added products to kind of help for that extra long wear or extra humidity. And with the mattifying, because this is where, especially in the summer, I get shinier faster. So I need to slow down the process of that shine coming to the surface. This will also help with texture. I don't really have a ton of texture. I have really faint looking pores. And then just because it feels right, I'm gonna go in here too. Having a mattifying product under something that's glowy is the best way to control oil while still having glow. I would do this faster than putting a mattifying product down and then drenching it in Fix Plus. I'm obviously going in with my baby Strobe Dewy Skin Tint. So I've worn Face and Body the last couple days just to check it out again, because like, again, I love Face and Body. I still love it. I still love it. Face and Body and Strobe Dewy Skin Tint, they're just it forever. I'm gonna use a 109. I just made a TikTok about this brush. So construction, the area where we put the mattifying, you cannot buff over top of it again because you're going to disrupt the fact that it's laying flat, especially if you have pores or texture. You can only bounce over top of that area, where down here where I have nothing, I can use more of a circular motion. If your skin isn't prepped properly and you have dry, flaky skin that you've never exfoliated, doing this type of circular motion is just going to lift the texture on the skin. I love the smell of this. Now, if you didn't want to use two different, because I'm obviously going to go in with Studio Fix, if you wanted to use just one foundation, you can still use two different brushes to manipulate the texture, so that maybe you're putting a sheer layer of the Studio Fix first and then a secondary layer of it. That's still an option. I just don't like doing my skin that way. Stunning. Layering and sandwiching your products allows them to fade better against each other. You can kind of picture it like, let's say we had dark brown paint and you started adding water to the dark brown paint, it's gonna fade from like a 10 to a 1. But let's say as it's fading, you're adding in a secondary color or even just more of the brown to help keep that pigmentation a little bit more solid as it fades. So instead of taking it from a 10 to a 1, you're taking it from a 10, like a 5, gone 10, 9.5, 9, 8.5, 8. That's kind of a color process in terms of how layering can work. So any oils right now that want to try to break through and take off my makeup are already subdued because of the skincare. Then it has to break through the primer, the Strobe Dewy Skin Tint, the cream bronzer, and the powder bronzer. When you put dry and wet together, think of like making a cake and you're mixing like water and flour. You're making a thicker a thicker consistency. It's harder to fade these two when they're together versus just one of the other on its own. Still get good makeup with just one, but when longevity is your concern, the more you have, the better. And if it's not 2 products, it might be 2 brushes to apply this differently. Also telling the makeup in this area is like the liquid, the Strobe Dewy, and this in that area are set. This is a powder. Powder always sets liquid. Doesn't matter if it's called a setting powder or not. But I know I'm not done with the makeup. Love it, lock it in. Fix Plus is the paper mache of the makeup world. I've said this before. So basically, I've sealed that layer in, but because it's just regular Fix Plus, I'm allowed to continue to work cream to powder consistently until I do like a final seal and let it dry. It can still have sheen to the skin, but you wouldn't put it on and like touch your face, or you wouldn't put it on and then start working on it right away because you don't want it to come off. Glycerin binds makeup to the skin. So it's taking all of this, it's binding it together, and they're holding on for dear life. My other 2 babies, my favorite foundations, Studio Fix Fluid, and then of course Studio Tech. I'm gonna use Studio Fix Fluid today. My favorite way to apply it is the 159. And the other thing too, this is how much foundation I'm using. If you're using more layers, you use less of each product, and you need to prime the brush. You need to work the product into the brush. That's how you get control. That's how you get even application. And I'm just gonna whisk this and dust it in these areas that I want a little bit more fuller coverage, which is generally the center part of the face. I'm using my phone's screen to look at this, so I hope it's good. When you use more product, it allows them to, again, work as a team as opposed to making one product do all of the legwork. Still the same amount of product. Someone asked me the other day what I thought about people that still think that MAC product is for, what word did they use? For stage. I would say you need to come into 2024. Sure, back in the day it was sold to only makeup artists, but when you think about the variety of work that makeup artists are doing, when you look at MAC backstage makeup, when you look at just the different areas that people are doing makeup, there is quite literally a product or formula for everybody. Like when you look, I don't have it near me, when you look at face and body, it is lighter than a tinted moisturizer. It's so incredibly sheer. Why would that not be for someone's everyday? Do you know what I'm saying? My hill to die on is the shade range. For Studio Fix Fluid, for this one, it's 67 shades, and the dark shades are so beautiful, and the fair shades are so fair. And I understand that people are focused on making sure that all brands have shade range for everybody, as they should, but we also need to give credit where credit is due. I have never in my 13-year career been unable to match someone's color, and that's with fewer options, because you know, before it was 67, it was like 60, before 60 it was 55. Give credit where credit's due. That's all I'm saying. We're building a glowy radiant longwear. These are my supporting actors for oil control to help with that longevity. These are my lead actors in supporting the glow. Love it, lock it in. You're just saying, I'm done with what I just did, I love it, I just need to move on. I think one of the most gratifying things is knowing, like, when you meet me, or if I'm ever doing your makeup, I have full confidence. I know that I can fix all your skin problems. I do. That was the moment when I realized that was the moment I was like, you know what? I really am a makeup artist. I didn't call myself a makeup artist for years. I was like, yeah, I do makeup, or like, yeah, I work for MAC. But I didn't confidently call myself a makeup artist until like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, because I have come up against every single skin type, skin texture, skin concern, makeup level, most amount of product, limited amount of product, most amount of knowledge, limited amount of knowledge, language barriers, like all of these things. Doing someone's skin who does not speak English and getting through that process together, and doing makeup on people who don't know what they want, makeup for weddings, makeup for photo shoots, makeup for headshots, makeup for things like the Junos, like, it's very endless. So once I was like, I have checked off quite literally everything, that's when I was like, yes. It's very gratifying to know that, especially with a shade range like Studio Fix, where there's every single color, and I know what goes on elsewhere in the industry, It's a very nice feeling to know that you have the ability to match somebody. Like, yes, I have your skin tone. Not only do I have your skin tone, I have it with a slightly different undertone in case you wanna see different options. So once this minimal base layer is done, I'm gonna go in with blush. Because again, I want my blush, you want your blush layered underneath the concealer. It's locking them in. I'm going in with blush, please. Going back and forth between cream to powder, liquid to powder is only possible because of Fix Plus. And for me, so longwear means that I can sweat in it and get hot in it and it doesn't move. So yes, the skin will glisten. It doesn't come off. It's not pouring off my skin. If it was glistening and I touched it, yes, you will transfer. That's the reality of makeup, especially if you want to be glowy. But there's an art to making it wear long. I'm not touching my face. I don't touch my face throughout the day, especially if I know I'm going to be somewhere where it's hot. My hands will never touch my face until I'm ready to take it off. This is a picture of basically this routine in Miami. Miami heat outside at a party. At this point, this makeup was on for probably 14 hours with like 3 of them being outside in Miami heat and humidity. I should have put this on earlier. I'm just gonna put down eye cream. You've seen me do the Studio Radiance primer. I could go in with that, but because I know the skin is naturally gonna get a little bit shinier quicker, I don't need to go in and add more of that radiance. This is my holy grail under eye product. This is the Prep and Prime Highlight Pen in Bright Forecast. 1, the shade. The shade has a peachy tone to it, so it's gonna counteract any of the darkness that's under my eye. Number 2, it's from the Prep and Prime family. Here to stay together for the kids. It's going to help hold the concealer on. Beauty 109. So I'm just gonna highlight right under the whole eye. If I was using more of an orange color corrector, you have a darker complexion or a darker color because your dark circles are darker, you won't take it out into this whole area like I did. You would just keep it where you see the darkness. I'm trying to remember what I used in Vegas. I think I used more of this and it was a little too shiny. So I'm gonna go in with the House Labs concealer. Can't find my skin tone one, but for ultimate longwear, Studio Fix Smoothwear Concealer. So if I wanted a little bit more color correction, I can go in with a NW32. This is a self-setting concealer. So basically on its own, it has a really good wear time to it. And this dries down to like a matte finish and it's a longwear formula on its own. This is like the ultimate. I mean, Pro Longwear Concealer is good too in terms of longwear, a little bit more satiny than matte. Okay, what was I saying? I would have taken this in Miami. This is the Studio Fix Concealer. I would have taken that through the center part of my face and the way you're gonna see me use the House Labs one. I don't know where my shade is, but that's what I would have used. But the House Labs Concealer I wore in Vegas. I'm gonna put this wherever I want, more coverage. And when you're specific about your placement of product, that also allows you to build like a full glam, full kind of coverage look without actually it being full coverage, because you can still see the little problem spots I have right now, but it's not overpowering. Like even where the light's reflecting, it's not overpowering the skin texture or the overall look of the makeup. The technology behind formulas, your concealers have oil controlling, for example, oil controlling properties in them. So you need to pick something that's gonna help aid in like needing oil control, for example, or sweat-proof, humidity-resistant formulas. So you don't solely rely on powder. If I had gone in with like my favorite DEWY concealer, because I only own one DEWY concealer, you're relying on the powder to do all of the work, which you have 2 options here. You either live with that, or maybe you're like, you know what, I actually need to invest in something that's a little bit more matte for the summer and I keep my DEWY one for the winter. So just that little bit kind of pulls everything together. Hi baby, Global Glow, like a sweet kiss from a man. This is giving me radiance and glow, not dewiness, radiance and glow, and it's marrying all of those beautiful products together. This just adds further sheen to the skin. If you had super, super matte skin and you went in and added that, yes, it's gonna give you that glow, but not in this, not in the same texture. Love it, lock it in. Two of my favorite blushes, Humor Me from MAC and Honey Thief from Melt. I'm gonna mix both. Favorite blush brush. So at this stage, you have to be careful about how you're applying your product. So I prefer a fluffier brush to just put a veil of the color onto the cheek. I don't want to, like, I can touch the skin, but I don't want to disrupt things too much because I want them to warm up on their own. And I'll just do that little hint of pink just on the edges. You don't have to do this. You don't have to layer. You don't have to layer for multiple reasons. But for me, I have an abundance of makeup I want to use. If you own a lot of makeup and you want to start using it, as you should, start like mixing your colors together. Point in sitting on makeup. Makeup needs to be used. This is a step I did do in Miami. I remember at this point I had wanted to highlight my face, but I didn't want to go in with the texture of a concealer. So I went in with Radiant Rose just to highlight like very small portions of my face. Almost like if you were adding, like if you were drawing, you know, in like comics where they just have those like really thin highlights on the face, just like the line. That's basically what I was doing. Because this dries down to a matte finish, like matte satin, it's not leaving a heavy texture. I still haven't looked in a mirror yet, so I think we look good. Makeup can't do anything about texture, but it can help with color. So a little bit of the HAUS concealer will just take away the redness. This is the Ma Beauty M37, just where I want a little bit more shape. Pro Set and Blur. This is the most like blurry, especially if you use the puff. I will not. Blurry, matte, smoothing powder. A very weightless texture to it. I'm picking up the tiniest amount. I'm just going to press it basically in the areas that didn't get a powder product, that really only had cream or liquid. You can see when so if you look at this angle here, it's a lot more flat than we look at the dimension and sheen that's happening in this area. This has taken me a really long time to get on board with because I love, it's like, it's too much. It's too glam. It's too perfect looking. And again, I say this all the time. You're probably like, Megan, that sounds crazy. Like, why don't you want that? It's just not it's not the skin that I go for. But like, yeah, this looks so blurry. So this is like, I find that this look is what's really popular. Like people love to just leave their skin like this. I can't do it. I can't. So the reason I'm adding this is for setting the product in that area, but it's also giving me that oil control. The under eye area, I'm just gonna dust off any excess. Maybe just a little through here. But the reason that I'm using this is to help with oil control throughout the routine. I still need to work. I still have stuff to do. Love it, lock it in. So you can see that, yes, it added like a little bit more glow back to the skin, but it still is quite flat in comparison to what it looked like without the powder. The most important under eye step. When you want glowy skin, you have to have precise oil control. So that's where smaller brushes come into play. You have to be really strategic about where you're placing it. So for me, I want more coverage under the eye and brightness. So I need a small brush to pack the product into that area. Not so small that it starts catching. It still needs to be a little bit larger. And you can kind of think of it, the Fix Plus is gonna help the two powders stick together. And because this is also oil absorbing, you now have to fight through multiple layers. And I always, if I'm, again, needing to do this because I'm gonna be out in like the heat, I will put on extra powder. So I'm packing on more than I normally would, and I just let it sit because I know I need to put on more so it does the fading process that it needs to. I want more blush. Stay Over is my favorite setting spray for a last step. I don't have any, so I'm going to use this kimchi one. It says that it's matte, but it's not. At least it's not on me. I prefer how Stay Over wears. When I came back from Sick New World, the way that like the oil pooled here, it was really weird. I'd never experienced that with Stay Over before. So I have very radiant, matte looking skin that will end up looking more dewy as the day goes on, and this is going to last. I won't generally go in with like a highlighter because that will naturally start to happen on its own, but this is festival proof, humidity proof, gym proof, sweat proof, sun proof. This is my holy grail of how I do foundation for longwear, foundation that I can sweat in. It has never failed me. And you don't even necessarily, like, as you're watching this, try these steps with products that are similar to what's in your collection before you decide if you need to actually go and get these ones specifically. Use a tinted moisturizer, use a fuller coverage foundation, use different brushes, and see if you can achieve a similar look. Test it out, and if that doesn't work, then you decide, okay, what product is it that, you know, made the biggest difference? For me, it's adding these two into the routine that help make it extra long wear on top of my regular long wear. I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you're going to practice your makeup. I hope that you start investing in makeup artists that are on the internet. Let me know if you tried any of these steps. Let me know what your favorite tips and tricks are for long wear makeup. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a post. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram, all under the same name, at Miss Megan Robinson. You can email me at bookmissmegan@gmail.com if you want to book a virtual makeup lesson or in-person service. And until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.